The fun of when folks are joining meetings and they forget to mute. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And as people, oh, that's okay. We do it all the time. My favorite is, oh, you're on mute. So it's not a problem whatsoever. But we are going to go ahead and get started. I do have quite a packed session for the next hour. It is high level, but we do have several things that we are going to talk about. Just to, before we start the chat feature within the meeting here, please feel free to enter in any questions that you have. We do have a lot of CDW folks on this call that can either raise a question to me or they can respond to you in the chat. And if we don't respond to you in the chat, we can always get back to you after the session is over. I do hope that we have some time at the end of the hour for some questions, but if we don't, again, we can always do a follow-up to your question after the session has been finished. So before I start, I am going to post something in the chat for all of you. Where I am hosting this session today is actually in our CDW. And if you haven't gathered yet, this is our Teams meeting rooms area, and we showcase in this room things like Logitech, Jabra, Lenovo, Neat, and other vendors that we work with. So we have, just to let you know, we have an entire room dedicated to showcasing all of this technology. So if anybody wants to ever have a demo or do a hands-on experience with our meeting room solutions and our partnerships with our wonderful vendors, please reach out to us. I provided the link in the chat. So you can go ahead and book some time with us. Or if you're one of our clients, then please feel free to reach out to your sales representative and we'll go ahead and get that session booked for you. But you're welcome to come here on site and have a good hands-on experience with meeting room devices. Had to tie it in there because it is related to Teams. So I thought what a nice way to introduce the Teams phone system as well. We do actually have a phone in this room to demonstrate the Teams phone system and how it integrates with meeting rooms and so on. So I thought I would just add that in. So welcome to our digital workspace experience room. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's session. So thank you for joining us today. We have often these Microsoft 365 webinar series, and today's focus is on the Teams phone system. It will be very high level. It's an introduction to different areas of the Teams phone system that you may not have known about or you may have wanted some clarity. So that's what today's session is for. If you would like more information or you would like to have a more in-depth conversation, I have a whole team that I work with that can help support that conversation. So me or one of my team members would be happy to jump on a one-to-one call with you and your organization to have more discussions about your needs for the Teams phone system. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward. I am Cindy Bremner. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect here at CDW. I work in the modern space, hence the room that I'm in, and I'll be hosting today's webinar. I do have several of my teammates on this call as well, so we're all here to support. What we are going to be covering in the next hour is what is Teams Phone? Teams phone versus some other phone systems. That's often a question that we get. Some third-party add-ons. I can't wait to showcase some of the third-party solutions that I've worked with and have worked very well for clients. And at the end, just showcasing what services we can do and offer when it comes to helping you with your Teams phone system, whether it be a new deployment or a migration from an existing phone system. And of course, I will be highlighting the licensing that you will be needed, or excuse me, you will be needing for the Teams phone system. And of course, at the very end, I have a lot of links and resources for you after this session so you can use that to get more information. All right, so let's start with understanding what Teams phone is. Thankfully, the majority of people have been working in Teams itself for quite a long time, but the introduction to the Teams phone system is quite new to some. So that's what we're going to be talking about right now. So what is the Teams phone system? Well, it's a cloud-based calling platform from Microsoft that integrates with Microsoft Teams. Because it is a Microsoft product, the native integration is seamless. The administration in the background is seamless as well. But remember, it does integrate with other phone systems, and I will be covering that a little bit later. So some of the key things that I like to highlight when talking about the Teams phone system, it is just like a traditional PBX that you've been using in past. It has auto attendance and call queues for the management of calls coming in, call routing, call flow, and so on. It's got the cloud voicemail. And remember, with the cloud, you can access that from anywhere on any device that has a connection to the internet, and you have the Teams app. And then calling identity. So that's also a really big requirement for a lot of folks, and that is the ability to set your caller IDs. So whether you have an anonymous caller ID, whether you have the user's name and phone number as the caller ID, or you have the company name and the company phone number as the caller ID. So again, it's just like a traditional PBX system. And oops, sorry, I got distracted there for a moment. So it is a traditional PBX system. It's just in the cloud and it's offered by Microsoft. The things that I find that I often talk about when talking about the Teams phone system, again, we're all very much accustomed to using Teams or using phone systems. So what I find really stands out and really supports users in a collaborative way in the Teams phone system is the ability to have user collaboration, user support. So that would be the ability to work with others. So in this example here, I have the Teams call forwarding feature highlighted. And again, that is a common question that I get is how can others help me answer my phone calls whenever a phone call comes in to me? So in this case, the call forwarding, as a user, I can call forward my phone calls to my cell phone, to my voicemail, to another number. If I have delegates set up, I can do that. And I can also use call groups, which I'll talk about in a moment. So that ability for simultaneous ringing is actually quite a hot feature that is often asked about. So the screenshot that I'm showing you here on screen is taken from the Teams Admin Center. It is a phone system that has already been set up, and this user has already been set up. So in the user profile in the Teams Admin Center, I'm able to go in and set at a tenant level the call forwarding features for that user. On the flip side, as a user, we all have our own settings in Teams, just like we normally do. But when you get access to the Teams phone system, you will also have settings that will be just for your calls. And in there, you can go in and set your own call forwarding features, your own simultaneous ringing features. When I talked about the call groups, so a lot of phone systems today offer that capability to have delegates answering other people's calls, as well as simultaneous ringing on multiple phones at the same time. So in Teams phone system, the call groups, You would set it up so that you can either ring everybody simultaneously, you can have it ring one at a time. Whatever you have set up as far as people in your call group that will be able to answer your calls on behalf of you, you have that option to control how those calls are being managed. So call group is a wonderful feature that a lot of people like to leverage. And again, that is a wonderful support system, especially if somebody is often away from their desk. You can use the call group feature for them to help answer your calls. The other one that supports this collaboration and user support is the ability to set up delegation. So really just think of it as you would an exchange today. However you have your delegates set up today for, say, assistance to leadership. They can send emails on behalf of people. They can respond to emails on behalf of people. It's no different in the phone system. You can set up delegates in the phone system to answer calls, make calls on behalf of someone, check voicemail, and so on. So just the same opportunities are available in the Teams phone system. So I've highlighted some of the key things that we often get asked about outside the traditional phone system settings. But then it comes down to which solution in the Teams phone system is right for you. And what I mean by that is there are different options of how you can set up Teams to interact with different phone systems. Microsoft, as an example, you can have Cisco that's integrated with Teams, Ring Central 8x8, and I could go on. So how do you know which solution is right for you? Well, these are some of the common things that you should consider. So do you want to keep your on-premises phone system? Have you invested a lot of money already and you want to, and you're just not ready perhaps to move away from your on-premise solution, but you do want to leverage your Teams that you're already licensed for and using today, but you want to integrate Teams with that existing phone system. That's a possibility, and I'll speak about that in a few moments. Or do you want to get rid of your on-premise hardware solutions and move it all to the cloud so you don't have any hardware requirements at all except for headsets as an example? So that's another consideration that you'd want to think about. And if you do have any requirements that are complex, that need to be scalable, you might want to think about other solutions such as Teams, Operator Connect and direct routing, which I'll talk about in a few moments. But again, it's just deciding whether you want to keep on-prem. Do you want to marry both on-prem and Teams together and make that work? Or just move everything from on-prem straight to the cloud and use just Microsoft as your back-end phone system? The other thing, that last option that I have here listed, is the availability of calling plans in your region. That is a very important differentiator. For us in North America, we're pretty safe. We can use any options that we want to choose. We have all of the options available to us. However, there are some countries where they just don't have the ability to do some of the features that we, or to have some of the features for calling that we have here in North America. Sometimes it's mandated by the country that they're not allowed to use things like Teams calling plans. They aren't allowed to bypass the PSTN system. So in those countries, they may not have the same options as what we do. So it's really important to not only consider your location of where you're working today, but if you have any other locations throughout the world globally that also will be tying into your phone system. So there are different conditions that you will need to think about. And again, we're here to help you with that conversation. If you do have locations around the world, we can have that conversation and help you map out. And don't forget, it is Microsoft, so it's not one or the other. you can usually marry them all together at the same time. So you can have a combination of different types of phone systems and features at the same time. Oops, my picture is not coming up, but I have a picture here that I can't seem to display. So I'm just going to try and bring that up. So I have this wonderful picture that will, can you just let me know, my peers on this call, if you can see the diagram on the screen, or is it blank for you as well?
It's blank for us.
It
Thank you.
is. Okay. Well, I can see the diagram in the thumbnail, and it wouldn't be a webinar if something didn't happen. But I have this wonderful diagram that I can see that's not showing up. And I am going to try and see if I can somehow, yeah, it won't come up. So I'll just talk about it instead. There are 3 different ways that you can connect to the PSTN from Teams. So I've been talking earlier a little bit about Ring Central 8x8, but we're not going to focus on those today. We're going to talk just about Microsoft. But within Microsoft Teams phone system, there are 3 different ways to connect to the PSTN. And that's a great idea. Someone suggested putting the picture in the chat, and I think I'm going to do that while I'm talking to you. So the first one is Teams calling. So Teams calling is, let me just highlight this here. So Teams calling plans means that you're going to move your entire phone system up to the cloud. You're going to be using just Microsoft's PBX and no other phone system. And I'm pasting it in the chat. Whoever suggested that, that was fantastic, and thank you. Oh, you see it. Who knows what happened again? You got to have something go wrong. So I'm glad somebody can see it, but if not, in the chat, I did post the picture in there so that you can see what it is I'm referring to, because it's a lovely map. But the map that I have up, that if you can look at it in the chat, is, or the diagram rather, it shows that Team phone user makes a phone call, goes through the Teams phone system. The Teams phone system then will look to determine, well, how are we going to connect to the PSTN? What has this client done for their users to connect to the PSTN? So if you don't know what PSTN means, that basically means that you want to do an outbound call to a 10-digit number. So PSTN connectivity is how you will do receive and make inbound and outbound calls. So FYI, the ability to do Teams calling internally is Teams user to Teams user. That's different. That's not the phone system. We're talking about going outside of Teams, out to the network, out to the PSTN, and then coming back in. So Teams to Teams calling is not what we're covering today. So as you can see in the diagram, the first one here is Operator Connect. So I'll talk about Operator Connect in a moment. The second option that you'll see there is direct routing, which I'll speak about also in a moment. And then the third one is the Microsoft calling plans. So using these 3 different options, and by the way, you can have several working together, but typically clients will pick one path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the next slide because my diagram's not really showing up, and I'm going to talk about the Teams calling plans. So the Teams calling plans would only be used if you are not using any other phone system. You've decided to move and migrate your old phone system over to Microsoft. When you do that, you will be able to port over your phone numbers to Microsoft. Once you've done that, you then will assign them just as you normally would to the users. Now, for your users to be able to make an outbound call, you will be needing calling plans, whether they are domestic or international, which includes domestic, of course. But just letting you know that calling plans is what you would need to purchase in order for your users to make outbound calls and also receive direct inbound calls to the user. And when I mentioned about direct inbound calls to a user, don't forget that in phone systems, there's generally an auto attendant that will say, welcome to CDW, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. So that type of calling would be calling right into the auto attendant, whereas direct calling means they've got your 10-digit number and they're going to call you directly right in Teams. So this will be available to you after, so you'll be able to read all of the stuff on screen. But I did put in here for each of the methods to get to the PSTN, I did try to put in as much information as I could for you to read later. So again, as I mentioned, very easy. Caller makes a phone call, goes out through Microsoft PBX, determines what kind of calling plan they have, international, domestic, and then it will go and place the call out to the PSTN. Now, the next one is, I just want to show you a little bit more actually about the calling plans. Now, this is what I've gathered from the Microsoft website, but I do recommend that you reach out to us so that you can speak to our dedicated Microsoft licensing team and let us help you with that licensing conversation. But I did do this at a high level so that you could see the different calling plans that are available to you. So I will talk about licensing a little bit later, but just at a quick high level here, don't forget with any of the Teams phone system options, you always need to get that Microsoft Teams phone standard license. All of your users will need that if they're going to be using a phone system within Teams. The calling plans, again, are only optional rather if you decide to move everything to Microsoft's phone system. Then you would need these types of calling plans. Now we're going to talk about Operator Connect. So Operator Connect is one of the 3 options. And Operator Connect really means I don't want to have my hardware on premises anymore. I don't really want to go to calling plans because it might be too costly for our company, but I do need some sort of middleman solution that will allow lots of flexibility and customization without having to manage the hardware and the hardware costs that are associated with it. So that ability to not use calling plans, maybe use a different operator like Bell or Rogers. They offer Operator Connect, and the benefits of using Operator Connect versus, say, a calling plan are that the reach is far more global than using a calling plan. A calling plan, you have to determine if it's domestic or international, whereas in your Operator Connect, it has a much larger global reach, and the stability and the survivability is also there and supported. And what I mean by that is if the system goes down, these operators generally have a backup solution to make sure that you can make your outbound calls and receive your inbound calls. So these partnered telecom partners. In the States, they have a lot more than we do, but here in Canada, we work with Bell and Rogers. So I'm just going to highlight a little bit here about Bell. So this is a nice diagram that Bell Canada offers in their articles. And this is a nice way of showing how the Operator Connect works. So in this case here, you'll see that you can be at any location. Everyone's using the same phone system, so geography is important, but not near as important as it is with calling plans. So everyone will be routed through Bell. All the calls at any location will continue to route through Bell. And then Bell has its own peering connectivity with Microsoft and the PSTN. So that special connection that it has between Microsoft and the PSTN is what makes it Operator Connect. So again, Operator Connect is a great solution if you have a large scale deployment that needs maybe some customization, or maybe is quite complex in how you need to set it up. That's where you can really benefit from Operator Connect. Again, the Bell and Rogers are the Operator Connect operators at the moment. The support that CDW would offer for that would be more of educating you on, once you've connected with one of the operators, we can help you then continue to set up your team's environment. But you will have to reach out and set up an agreement with Bell or Rogers as an example. So it would be a team effort between CDW and Rogers or Bell, should you pick one of those. So we can all work together to help you get that set up. The other nice thing about Operator Connect, even though the host is Bell or Rogers, you as an organization have full flexibility in the Teams Admin Center to not only manage the caller identities and so on, but also you can assign phone numbers. So even though the back end of it's being supported by Bell or Rogers, you still have full flexibility in your Teams Admin Center to administer the Teams phone system. And the last one of the three is direct routing. So when Teams Phone, the ability for Teams Phone was first released, it was only two options at that time. It was calling plans or direct routing. So it was basically you either keep your existing phone system and use Teams as the soft phone, or you move everything to Microsoft. So direct routing has been around for a long time. It is a larger investment. And what I mean by that is, in order for your existing phone system, could be Avaya, could be Mitel, something like that, in order for those phone systems to tie into Teams, you would need to get additional hardware. Whether it's on-prem or virtual, you still need to get that middleman hardware to be able to translate the calls between the existing phone system and Teams. So that translation, that conversion, is called a session border controller. So it'll come from the on-prem phone system. The session border controller will then read that phone number format, convert it into a format that Teams can understand, and then it will then move into Teams and the user can accept the call. So it is a lot larger of a project than Teams calling, as an example, or even Operator Connect, which is quite simple to set up. Direct routing does take quite a bit of planning, and it is a bit more costly, but sometimes, again, it's just a great solution for companies that just have invested so much in their on-prem phone system. It's working well for them, and they're just not ready to move away from it yet, but they want to leverage the Teams phone system as well. Teams Phone Mobile, great feature. Rogers offers, Bell and Rogers offers the ability to have Teams Phone Mobile. So really, if you're familiar with a single number reach, it's that concept. And so what that means is, to a user, it doesn't matter if they're getting a regular 10-digit phone number to their, or sorry, a personal phone call to their phone, or whether it's a Teams app phone call coming in to the user that's using the Teams Phone Mobile, it's seamless. They don't know the difference. So basically what I'm saying in a nutshell is, if a call is coming in, whether it's through their regular cell phone or through a Teams app call, the user will be able to answer it just as they would any other regular call. So it just makes it as a single number reach. And it's a really, really great feature, and a lot of people are starting to really look into this. The other great feature about the Teams Phone Mobile is for those that are on the road. So those road warriors that always have their mobile app, so they don't know if they're getting a Teams call or a regular call. Great solution again. It really works well for those road warriors. Now, there is something else that I would like to introduce to you, and that is we've talked a lot about what kind of phone systems that you can have. And I talked about how you would have to set up a calling plan per user if you were moving over to Teams Phone. But here's another solution that I really want to showcase that a lot of people don't know about. So in Teams, sometimes organizations may have a pool of users that only make a phone call once or twice, maybe 5 times a year. So investing in a calling plan, as an example, might be a bit costly, especially if they don't utilize it very much. So Microsoft has come up with a different calling plan called shared calling. And really, it's a pay-as-you-go calling plan. What it means in a nutshell is you could have 10 people all sharing the same phone number for inbound and outbound calling. It does tie into an auto attendant, just to let you know, but it is an option that a lot of people aren't familiar with. So it does help you save money and maybe sign a calling plan for only those that need it sometimes. The only risk on that is that it might be overused, and that can be quite costly because it is pay as you go. So you'd want to be monitoring that if you ever did set up something like shared calling. But do know that shared calling is a terrific feature that you can use for those users that don't need to use the phone system that often. Another feature about the phone system that I want to showcase is the ability to um, enroll devices into this Team SIP gateway. So what this means is we have a lot of clients that have invested money in the past on different desk phones, actual desk phones, and they're quite concerned that they might have to give up these Teams or these desk phones and the money that they've invested in and so on. So Microsoft has come up with this SIP gateway, and any devices that are SIP enabled can be registered in the Team SIP gateway. Now, there are conditions, of course. They do have to be compatible, and there is a list that you will have in the links at the end of the presentation. There is a list there that will allow you to look up to see if your desk phones are compatible with Teams. But just a wonderful feature. Back in the day, only certain phones were compatible with Teams, kind of monopolized the market. So now they've really expanded that. And just as an example, even older phones for Cisco, if you're using Cisco desk phones, you can just upgrade the firmware, and it can be then compatible with Teams. So great conversation to have with us, and we can help you determine if your desk phones are compatible with Teams and what next steps you have to take to fix that. So some of the devices that are supported by the Teams phone system are Poly, Link, audio codes, and many more. But just those are the common ones that we often talk about and recommend. But again, there is an actual certified list from Microsoft that you have a link to later, and you can look at that. Some other things about we talked just a moment ago about the SIP gateway. Some other things are the shared devices. So common area phones. How do you work with that? Not a problem. There is something called shared device licenses, which means that you can use those common area phones, set up a shared device license, and make them Teams phones. So anybody can go and log into that, use it as a phone. You can have it just in reception area or in a boardroom. We have a lot of companies that have labs. They often like to have those phones in the lab area as well. So I just wanted to let you know it still does support the common area phones. Even after you migrate over to Teams phone system, that's still a possibility to make sure they're still set up for you. Another one that's happening more and more, another conversation I meant that's happening more and more is the ability to use paging devices or doorbells or things like that. Think of long-term care facilities that have overhead paging. They've got that doorbell and the ability to open the door through the doorbell. So that ability to integrate with Teams is also here. Now, that is a much larger conversation for us to have with you, but I definitely want to showcase the ability that Teams phone system has in working with overhead paging as an example. The Algo 8301 is a very popular um, adapter that we would recommend for paging. So we've set up lots of that, lots of paging devices and systems. So if there is anything that you have that needs to be replaced or upgraded, we'd be happy to help you with that. We definitely have partnerships with these folks. So setting up paging, just to let you know, pretty straightforward. You can just use your existing speaker or amplifier system, plug in the algo adapter into that system, tie it into Teams, and it's done. It's that simple. From paging, you can just pick up the phone and dial maybe an extension that's already been pre-configured to call that paging. And then you can, anybody in the company who has access to that extension or allowed to use that extension can use the overhead paging right from Teams. I took a screenshot just of the Teams Admin Center, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip past that in just because of time. But if you do ever want to have a conversation or a demo of the back end of the Teams Admin Center before you want to configure it on your own, please let us know and we can take you through a demo of that. This is the call quality dashboard. Again, that's more on the back end of the admin centers. And again, we'd be happy to have another conversation about that with you later. What I do like about the call quality dashboard is the ability to use Power BI to report on the analytics of the call qualities. So really super feature. I have a peer of mine on this call, Dallas, who enjoys talking about Power BI. So the two of us can definitely have a great conversation with you about tying in the reporting side of calling into Power BI. So before I move on to more of the third-party apps, which I can't wait to show you, I do want to just reiterate the benefits. So with Teams phone system, it is natively integrated with Teams. So of course, you know, that makes it a lot easier. But I also don't want to dismiss how great Teams can be in integrating with other non-Microsoft phone systems. If you would like a further demonstration of how the phone works, we'd be happy to do that, but I do want to mention that you can have live captioning on a call, you have your transcriptions on calls, you have the recording like we're doing today through the meeting, so you can record calls as well. And the greatest part about using the Teams phone system is within the Teams app, you have that built-in help feature that will walk you through how to use the Teams phone system. So there's lots of methods out there to get support on how to use the phone system. And again, we'd be happy to do another demonstration for you. So I am gonna go quickly through the other phone systems again, because I do want to respect time, but just reiterating what I was just mentioning, it's just Teams phone system is seamlessly integrated. It supports mobile devices, so Android, iOS, and other SIP devices. So I'm just going to skip through this. And again, you can read this later. So the Cisco Ring Central, I was just offering some solutions or some ideas here on how they differ from the phone system. But I do want to showcase now about third-party add-ons. So I'm not going to go through all of the slides, but I will be showing you a lot of different pictures and talking to them. So the ones that I'm showcasing today are ones that we've worked with in past. So Entergrade offers a consulting as well as a product solutions from their company. Landis Attendant Console, if you know Landis Technologies, they have a product called Attendant Console, which is for receptionists. And then we also have desktop faxing in Teams. Now, that is not related at all to the Teams phone system. So you're thinking, why would you add that? Because we get asked that quite often. Folks most often confuse faxing with the phone system when in fact they aren't related, but we always tie that into our conversations to make the solution well-rounded. So if anybody in the industry knows of Michael LaMontagne, he is an 11-time MVP, and he's been well recognized by Microsoft. He and another fellow founded Entergrade, and they, again, offer custom solutions and products that they market today, available in Marketplace. So this is the diagram that I wanted to show you for Entergrade. Not going into all of these features, I will be highlighting Call Router, but do want to show you that these are all the different product and consulting options that they have. The archiver is fantastic, by the way. That will pull in a lot of call reporting details. It offers more of a customized solution for reporting versus the Microsoft native reports that aren't as nice to work with. They offer a really nice customizable way of pulling in not only the call data, but also being very granular and drilling down into watching the actual journey of the call in the history and watching where it went, whether it came in through the auto attendant, then got routed to here, then they picked menu option number 1, and then from 1 it transferred over here. That person abandoned the call, so it went to this person. That type of journey is not natively tracked in Microsoft reporting, so they do offer a really great report for that. This is just some examples of the call data reports that they offer. But the one that I do want to circle to now is the call router. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is I'm going to give you a scenario of when call router came in handy for a client. It was a union company, and they didn't want people to have their own caller IDs. They didn't want their folks to be able to have any incoming calls to come directly to them. They want to be able to make outbound calls, but they don't want any calls coming into the users directly. They want everything to go through live answer. So this call router solution was put in place to facilitate that. And the reason why the call router was such a great solution is it's customizable. So say you wanted to block certain numbers from calling your company, or you want all of the published numbers for your company to all route through to one auto attendant. Those kind of scenarios, this call router solution can customize how you want the behavior of incoming and outgoing calls. So it's a really great feature. Again, I'll have links at the end in this deck so that you can go and research a little bit more. But Entergrade, and this is the call router solution, which again, it's a big tool set and you can customize it to meet your needs. Another thing that emergency services is a very large conversation that we have in any phone system. And the reason why I'm showcasing this screen or this screenshot here is Entergrade has come up with a non-Teams emergency alerting system. So the reason why I'm saying non-Teams is within Teams, if the users don't have Teams open, then they may not get the announcement or the alert. So this is actually a Windows alert, not a Teams alert, but it's a wonderful solution that they've provided for several clients, and that's the ability to send out those emergency call alerts. And although it follows other sequences that you set up for your emergency calling, meaning who's going to be involved, who's going to be alerted when 911 has been dialed, that kind of thing is still there. You still have to prepare for that. But it's the alerting to the company that is actually deficient when it comes to Microsoft Teams phone system. So really nice addition is this ability to use this Windows alert that they've created. So Landis Technologies, they have other solutions, but I'm focusing only on the attendant console today. I'm just going to flip through to a diagram. I think that would be a lot nicer. So the Landis has created attendant console. What it really is just a layer that sits on top of the Teams phone system. It allows receptionists to better manage all the incoming calls and transferring them, putting them on hold, looking at the call history. That kind of management is a wonderful solution with Landis. So in this screenshot here, I can see that I have an active call, which is on the left side in black there. There's options where you can put the call on hold. You can do different forms of transfer, no different than what you're doing today in your phone system. You can do a blind transfer. You can do a consult transfer, which means that you want to speak to someone first before transferring the call. And this will allow many different types of transferring functions. But the most common, of course, is the blind transfer. So another screenshot that I wanted to show you about this is, in addition to just doing transferring and putting calls on hold, what is more accelerated in the attendant console, which you don't have in the native Teams phone system, is the ability to email a callback reminder or send a Teams chat with a callback reminder. And in the back end of Landis, there is an option of how you want that to look. So when people use it, it's templated. And plus they have one already templated as a suggestion to start with. But that is a wonderful feature. So you can send a quick, you can let the call go to voicemail if they're not there, but at least you can send them that callback reminder. It will grab the information of the active call and pre-populate that little template chat that I was telling you about. Here's an example of what that little template chat would look like. Some other neat shortcuts, let's say we call them speed dials, but if you want to be able to just, if a receptionist would like to be able to just do a quick phone call, they can set up shortcuts that automatically will dial a certain number. You just call that button, whatever it is you want it to call, and you can go ahead and call it. A lot of long-term care facilities, as an example, would have maybe pharmacy or other doctors or hospitals set up here. So it just eliminates some extra steps for calling. Now, when it comes to the receptionist, how does this work? Well, each person gets a Landis license, and they also have the ability to opt in or opt out of these calls. So as a receptionist, maybe I'm backing up the main reception. Typically in the day, I'm opted out, so I don't receive any of the calls, but maybe when that person's on break, I need to step in. That's when I can then opt in. That receptionist can opt out, and then I'm the only one getting those receptionist calls. When she comes back, we just simply opt in and out again, and then she can resume after break. So letting you know that it's a really neat feature to do that. This is just a sample of what it looks like when you put a call on hold. There is an alert system that says, hey, this person's been on hold for a long time. You really should tend to that call. So just showcasing that it's got some thresholds in there as well. The next one that I want to talk to you about is the desktop faxing. I'm going to do more of picture showing so that you can see what it looks like, but this would be a desktop Teams app solution that you can send faxes directly from Teams, from within Teams. So it is a bot that you would install. You can permission it, license it, and only people who have the license to use it will be able to use it within Teams and have access to it. So part of the desktop faxing, what I love the most about this feature is that it's very simple. In days past, they were quite complicated. Users got frustrated with that. This particular solution, as an example, and there's several, is very simple, very straightforward. It's who are you sending it to? What kind of fax do you want to send? Is it certified, meaning you'd maybe need it for legal purposes, that transmittal page, or do you want to just send a regular fax? Put in the recipient details, the cover message, and you hit send, and that's all you have to do. The other really neat thing about this desktop faxing is that you can do a printout of the history of faxes, whether they were successful or not. So as an administrator, you always can tie into that call history or faxing history to see what was successful and what wasn't. And you can set a date range for that report as an example. In this case, if I want to send an attachment, I upload the attachment first, and then I fill out the sending details. This is just an example of what it looks like when a fax has come into your inbox from the EFAC solution. This is another solution. I'm not going to talk about it. It was just to highlight something. Oh, sorry, startled me. Sorry? Oh, pardon me. I thought somebody was asking a question. But what I was going to say is there is another solution that some salespeople like to use, and I'm not. There we go. So the next slide that I want to move to is how can we help you? So this is where we're going to talk about the next steps. So if you've decided that you would like to maybe learn some more about the third-party solutions, or you would like some help understanding how to set up your phone system or whether or not you should migrate, these are the different solutions that we can work with you to help you. We can do just a planning and design workshop where you're not doing the migration, but you want to understand the lay of the land, what's going to be involved with it, the amount of time needed, the amount of resources needed to do that. So we can have that conversation with you. We can also do a proof of concept. Let's say you don't want to move anything. You just want to try it out and see what you think. Not a problem. You can get a few calling plan licenses, help you set up the Teams environment, and you can do a proof of concept and use the temporary phone numbers from Microsoft before you decide to move anything in your environment. If you do decide that you do want to do a move, but you would like to do a pilot first, you'd like to see how that works. So you do want to port over some phone numbers over to the Teams phone system. Not a problem. We can help you with that pilot. We will do most of the heavy lifting. We'll get everything staged and configured, but we can help you at least do that pilot migration. And of course, at the end, it's up to you if you need help with that production migration, but we can help you with that as well. Third-party integrations, I talked a little bit today about what Entergrade can offer with that call router. I talked about Landis Attending Console, and we talked about that desktop faxing. So those kind of third-party integrations, we'd be happy to help you with and to help you get those set up and tie them into Teams. We do work with those companies as well. So if they need to support during that, they'll always support that for us. And user adoption and training, can't forget about our end users, especially with all of these changes. And I have to say this on behalf of end users, it may be very simple to a lot of us IT folks on how the Teams phone works. This typical comment is, it's a phone. How come anybody can learn it? That's not necessarily true. Some people are quite intimidated by using software and not necessarily using that desk phone anymore. So end user adoption and training is really important. I mentioned earlier about my peer Dallas on the call. He is a wonderful resource to help you with that conversation and understand all the different ways that you can help provide adoption and end user training. And we can't forget about managed services. So we also have managed services. And that means that what if you don't have the time to manage and monitor your Teams phone system and any changes or any new feature sets that have been released? We have a whole team dedicated that would manage this 24/7 for you and also be an extension of your help desk. So just letting you know that we do have a managed service as well that can help support your Teams phone system going forward. Some other things that I want to offer to you as well is when it comes to deploying the Teams phone system, it's usually not just the only thing that you're working on. It's not the only initiative that a company is working on. So if you find that it's a bit overwhelming of when to deploy your Teams phone system and tie that into other maybe migrations or projects that you have going, we have a resource, Rob Weiss, who is fantastic on the pre-sale side. And he can help you map out your future, your vision of your M365 environment, and just help you roadmap so you know when to deploy that Teams phone system as an example, and also some considerations and factors that you need to think about. We have some rapid services, which means that we can help you do some assessments in your 365 environment. So under the other, I'm going to leave it at that, letting you know that there's always other things that we can help you with to make sure that it's the right time to deploy your Teams phone system. Teams phone licensing. It's always a big question. Again, reach out to our team for that, but I can tell you here that you will need that Teams phone standard. That's mandatory. That's what gives you the calls icon on the left side in your navigation bar in Teams. Then you have your Teams calling plans if you're moving straight to the Teams phone system. You have that shared pay-as-you-go calling plans for those folks that you don't really need to make outbound calls that often, but they still need that capability. You've got the common area phone, so you need a shared device license for that. The Teams phone resource account, if you've already been looking at that, it's free, but you will, if you do move to the Teams phone system, you will have to get some Teams phone resource accounts. They're just AKA service accounts, but it is through the licensing that you have to get that. And then, of course, there's always that optional audio conferencing. Although I don't talk about it in the Teams phone system, we shouldn't forget about the ability to use audio conferencing. So think of that as your bridge, your phone bridge on meetings. Here are the resources that I have connected for you at the end. Again, once you receive this deck, if you ask for it, these are all hyperlinked to the different areas that I talked about very briefly at a high level today, but at least it will give you some more information and research. Again, reach out to us and we can have that further conversation with you. And I just want to thank you very much for attending. I do realize that that hour went quite quickly, and I see that people have been using the chat for questions. So thank you for that. As I mentioned right from the start, I do see also my other peer, Shoaib, is on the call as well. So a lot of my team is on this call. If they haven't already been answering your questions in the chat, again, reach out to us and we'd be happy to have further conversations with you. Is there any pressing questions that somebody needs to ask before we finish up our webinar today? And if so, you feel free to come off mute.
Just Feroz here.
Hello.
Hi, Cindy. So question about the intercom. So we use so many intercoms in our environment. How does it work and what's the license is going to be a workout for that?
Yeah, so there wouldn't be the licensing per se on that one. It would be more of which devices that you have today and how they're connected through your phone system today and how they can work with, normally it's the algo system devices that we'd be recommending. So that would be a conversation where we'd have to see how it's set up today. And then also
Okay.
what you, I say that because I've actually done these paging systems and there's so many different variables to consider. So it would be, how is it working today? How do you want it to work in future? Is it like for like? What can you leverage from the broadcasting? So you have broadcasting as well. So there's different devices that you can use. And also just the costing to make sure the investment, you're ready for the investment change. So I'd love to have more conversation with you on that. If you would like to schedule some time, we can talk more about the paging side of the fence. And I can also bring in our expert on the delivery side named Ali. He would also be happy to have that conversation with you. He would be the person who would actually be deploying the devices for you. But yes, it is a longer conversation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions that anybody would like to ask? Okay, well, again, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for joining me in our digital workspace experience room. If you didn't hear it from the beginning, this is a room that we use to demonstrate our meeting room technologies. We have a lot of hands-on experience here, so if you do want to have a hands-on experience with Teams meeting rooms, feel free to look in the chat. I've put a link in there on how you can schedule some time to come in and have a look at it and try it out. But again, thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.